Hey guys, it's Sam, and in this video I'm going to be talking about popular book talk books, so books from TikTok that are really popular, and what I thought of them. I already did a video talking about popular book talk books that I plan on reading, but I let you guys know there that there's a ton of books that I have already read from book talk, because book talk is just booktube from like 5 years ago. Not all the books, but a lot of them. But before we get into that, this video is being sponsored by Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing service for readers. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and help readers discover new books that they'll love. Each month their team curates a selection of releases and lets you pick from those so you can spend less time researching and more time reading. And Book of the Month is risk-free because you can skip any month at any time and not be charged. Plus they do have the best price for new release hardcover fiction at $9.99 using this code. This month there are 3 picks that I'm really excited about. The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, which is a book that a bunch of my friends have read, is a nonfiction, kind of like book of essays, and I've heard nothing but good things about this. A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw, which I've read Shay Earnshaw's YA books, but this is, I think, her first step into adult. And then The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox, which is a adult contemporary romance kind of holiday rom-com. So what I like about Book of the Month is that their curated picks are all from different genres, so you can definitely find something that you enjoy from all the picks that they have each month. So if you're interested in trying out Book of the Month for yourself and getting that $9.99 deal, I will link bookofthemonth.com below, as well as the coupon code, and you can check that out. All right. Let's get into the TikTok books, the book talk books. So I mentioned this on a No Nuance November that I did on TikTok because I am on TikTok. That's on Tomes_. Check me out there if you want more bookish content from me. But every new bookish platform that comes out, and that includes BookTube, is just a reiteration of the people and the platform that came before it. So like all the bloggers got mad at us for books that they'd already read and saying we discovered books that they'd already read and things like that, and then we were probably doing the things that bloggers were doing like 5 years before. The same thing is true for Bookstagram, and then now Book Talk. All of those things, they're just repeating the same books and the same conversations over and over and over again. This is especially true if you've been around for like over 5 years on BookTube. You'll just look and be like, this is 2015 BookTube on Book Talk. Not all the books. Book Talk is a little bit more focused on romance than BookTube ever was, although BookTube is getting more into romance. So romance and like erotica and things are much more popular on Book Talk than they probably ever were here. But there's a ton of books that were super popular here that like book talkers will be like, I found this. And I'll be like, oh, Blueberry, you did not. So let's talk about some of these books. Some of the book talk books that are popular and really hyped, I really did enjoy when I read them back in the day, and some of them I think are hot garbage. So let's get into those. All right, first off, quintessential book talk is Sarah J. Maas and the Acotar series. Sarah J. Maas has book talk by the throat. And honestly, she has had BookTube by the throat for a very long time, so again, just a little bit of history repeating. But this series is a big old mixed bag for me, but are you jealous of me? Because I have like the old covers. I bet you are. First we have Acotar. Acotar itself is like, oh, I didn't like it. It's garbage. I gave this 2 stars, I believe, when I read it. I'm not gonna go through star ratings of every single book, but generally speaking, did not like this, didn't get the hype. I read it a little bit after it first was really hyped on BookTube and was like, bleh. So did not dig it. But then Acotar happened, and I love this book. I still do. I do not feel super strongly about Sarah J. Maas, but this is the book that makes me sometimes think about like, should I read more by her? I do plan on continuing the Acotar series. I will put that out there. But this one was like a 5-star for me. I really dug it. But then Acotar happened, and this was like a 2 or a 3. Probably a 3. It's better than Acotar. But was just like, not as great as I was expecting. Definitely let down after Acotar. And then I have not continued the series and read Frost and Starlight, which is basically just like fluff. Or Silver Flames, which is the newest one. So I do plan on doing that at some point. Part of me wants to like, people have redesigned the covers to look similar to these for those books. Not the Frost and Starlight, but the other one, the newest one. Because I don't like the new covers like, at all. Actually, I think I bought Silver Flames on ebook because there was an ebook deal on Black Friday. I think I did that. I mentioned Sarah J. Maas has them by the throat, so there's also a lot of Throne of Glass around. I haven't read Throne of Glass in so long, but the original trilogy I really enjoyed. The first book was like 3 stars, and then the second 2 were like 4 or 4.5, maybe 5, I don't know. And then I kept hearing about the series like kind of going downhill from people that I trusted and that liked the things about the books that I liked, so I never continued and read past. I get tempted sometimes. I don't think I would like it these days though, as much as I liked it back then. Then we have The Song of Achilles. everyone everywhere has read this on every single platform. So again, this being like a book talk book, it's like, it's just a book world book. Everyone loves this book. I think it was a bestseller possibly. Yeah, won a bunch of like prizes. Like, it's a very well loved book. But I do really like this book. I think it's like a 4-star for me. Again, I don't want to go through and say every single rating, but I like this book. I think it's worth the hype. Really solid. I like Cersei more by Ben Miller, which is also popular on Book Talk, but still worth the hype, I'd say. Then we have the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. Also a series that crosses all platforms. Every platform has had their obsession with this book series. Very similar to how I felt about Acotar, honestly, with this series. First, we have the Cruel Prince. This was very mediocre to me. I think I might have given it like 3, maybe 2.5 possibly, but just, I was like, eh. By the time I got to this again, it was like really hyped. I was like, I don't see why everyone's loving this. Then I really did like Wicked King. I don't think it was a 5-star for me, but I think it was a solid 4. Like, this is where I started to be like, okay, I'm sort of getting it. I dig it, okay. And then Queen of Nothing went down to like 3.5 again. Just kind of like, ooh, not what I was hoping for. I think these books are honestly like fairly weak. Like, they're fine, but I think they could be kind of longer. I think this could have been a quartet, honestly. The fact that this gets recommended as enemies to lovers romance, while it is sort of more like a bully romance, honestly, I think the romance is like definitely not the main plot. Like, this is being recommended to people, especially on Book Talk, as like a romance series, and like it's a fantasy series with a romance subplot. So building up as a romance series is inaccurate. Yeah, I mean, Acotar is much more of like fantasy romance, but still much more like plot heavy. I would say this is more plot than romance, honestly. Then we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and honestly all of her books, but this one is the one that pops up most frequently on my pages, and this is excellent. This is 5 stars. Perfection. My favorite of the Taylor Jenkins Reid books, just for your reference, this one's my favorite, then Daisy Jones and the Six, and then Malibu Rising is like far below because I did not like Malibu Rising. Then we have one that I was like, oh, so interesting, again, how history repeats. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I have to have a whole TED Talk on this. The thing that happened on Book Talk is the exact same thing that happened on BookTube, so it just like blows my mind that the reactions to this book were exactly the same. So it was like underhyped on both platforms, got really hyped, and everyone was like loving it and recommending it across the board, and people were talking about the twist, and then people read it after the hype and were like really disappointed by it. It happens on both platforms. It's astounding how, like, again, it's the same thing happened on both. But this was a book that I actually read like far after the hype, and I read on audio, and I ended up really liking it. I think I gave it like 4 or 5 possibly, because I wasn't sitting there like trying to think what the twist was or anything like that. And so I was caught kind of off guard by it. But I know some people went in like expecting, I don't know, like a full thriller. I don't know what they expected, but I know that like, again, the reaction was like totally the same, but I really liked it. I think it was probably like a 4 for me. Then Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey Mcquisten. This again has had every single bookish platform by the throat since it came out. I don't know what it is about this. I think it just came out at a really good time, and people kind of needed something more like light and fluffy and optimistic and like set in an alternate reality. But I like thought this was just okay. People will continue to recommend this book in the comments of my videos on TikTok and BookTube, and I'm kind of like sitting there just reading the comments like, it was a 3 for me. I just don't think it's the best, even like male-male romance, any kind of romance. I just don't know why this has a hold on everybody. I have not read a One Last Stop, that's her Sapphic book, but this is fine. I guess it's cute. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a big old Grinch. I don't know. Then we have one about Book Talk that like personally offends me, and that is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I hated this book. This is a, not continuation, but almost like companion series to the original Remnant Chronicles, which is Kiss of Deception, Heart of Betrayal, Beauty of Darkness, which is one of my favorite series, and for some reason Book Talk's not reading that. They're not reading that, they're reading Dance of Thieves, and I think Dance of Thieves is awful. I hated it. I think it was a 1 star, possibly I gave it 2. But people talk about like enemies to lovers, forced proximity. They get together so quick in that book, and they're like, it's slow burn. I'm like, it is not. So yeah, I don't like that series, and I'm sad because I loved The Kiss of Deception and that whole series. The Remnant Chronicles was like amazing. And that second series was such a letdown, and that's the one that they all talk about, and it makes me so sad. They also talk about the Grisha trilogy. I'm not gonna get into that because you guys have heard me talk about the Grisha trilogy so many times. And if you're new to me because you just found this video, hi, welcome. However, I have other videos. search. I talk about it everywhere. But I will briefly mention Six of Crows. Yes, I really like Six of Crows. It was a 5-star read for me. When I read it, continues to be. I really dig it. I do wish that, well, BookTube needs to do this too, but they've done a little bit more than BookTok has. Branch out from, if you like this, there's so many books like this, or that feel in the same vein as this, especially in adult fantasy. Please branch out from this. Like, this is a jumping off point. It's like a trampoline. There's so much more out there for you. But it's really good. It's 5 stars. Then I've seen Shatter Me here and there. I only read the original trilogy, and honestly, I don't know if that's why I've gotten rid of it. I don't think I could go back and like love it the way that I did, but I didn't like the first book, and liked the second two, liked the third one the most, but I've seen it go downhill. If Whitney said it's gone downhill, I'm gonna go with her opinion, and just not even go there. But like, sure, for what it is, sure. But I also feel like it makes sense that Shatter Me was so popular back on like BookTube. It makes a little less sense to me now because I'm kind of like, we have gotten so past like Shatter Me levels of writing and just everything. So I don't really feel like it's a classic. I don't. So yeah, I liked it at the time, but I also feel like it's weird that people are still liking it now because I don't think it has that timeless quality. I do see Emily Henry mentioned a lot, Beach Read, and probably a little more People Leave Me on Vacation, which is her, like, not second book, but second adult romance. I love Beach Read, 5 out of 5 stars. I liked People Leave Me on Vacation, like a 4-star. Like, I think Emily Henry hype is worth it. Speaking of romance authors, this is another one that's just like so funny to me. Colleen Hoover, By the Throat. TikTok by the throat. I don't understand. This is again another thing that's very similar to We Were Liars, where it is an exact repeat, but slightly different from Colleen Hoover. So again, second TED Talk. Colleen Hoover was super popular when I first joined BookTube. I read Hopeless by her, which I fucking hated. Really, I didn't like it. She writes a lot of just like trauma porn. Like, it's a lot. So I really didn't like that book, 2 stars. I read Maybe Someday and really liked it. I think 4 or 5 stars. Still a little bit darker, not for everybody, whatever. But back when she was popular on BookTube, it was like Hopeless, Ugly Love, and Maybe Someday, and Slammed that were like her really popular books on BookTube. What's interesting is on BookTok, it's been the slightly newer books that have been popular, which again, sort of makes sense for the crowd and stuff and people finding her books, but it's been like November 9, a little bit of Ugly Love, and a couple other ones. It Ends With Us and another one are really popular there. What's funny about that is when those books were coming out, the newer ones, everyone that really liked her earlier books was like over her. Everyone was just kind of like, oh, I don't like these new ones. They're not good. Like, she lost her favor on BookTube. But BookTok is like loving those books. But not really. I don't see Maybe Someday. I'm mentioning because it's the only one that I have. I don't really see Maybe Someday. Ugly Love definitely had its time. It's interesting. So I'm like, okay, so like, when are they gonna get sick of this newer era of Colleen Hoover books and she's gonna fall off again there? Because that just seems to be her pattern. History, it repeats itself. But yeah, I don't think she's great. I think very hit and miss with her books. Like I said, I liked this one. I think generally speaking, most people are gonna like maybe one of her books. And if you read a bunch of them, I don't know how you can, because it's just a lot of the same and like pretty toxic. Like, they're romance books, but like there's not always happily ever after. I mean, maybe there is, but I don't know. They're good entry books, I guess, into like some of the maybe darker romance genres, but I don't think she's a particularly good writer. I'll say that. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera is pretty popular over there. I don't think this was necessarily a super popular BookTube book, but I didn't really like it. I don't really dig his writing, and I didn't really connect to it in the way that everyone was like, oh, it's so emotional, I cried, and I'm like, it's on the cover, what's gonna happen? I don't know. I mean, I guess it's similar to the Song of Achilles, where you also know what's going to happen if you know anything about like myth. But for some reason that hit better than We Both Die at the End. I don't know. Then The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. I actually like this book. I like very few of Victoria Schwab's books. She lets me down so often, but this book I actually dig. I'm surprised that I don't see more of her other books on there though, because I feel like on BookTube she really had us in her clutches for a long time, and I don't see as much of like Darker Shade of Magic or The Archived or I don't know, Vicious. I see Vicious here and there on there, but I don't see that as much as I see this for some reason. And lastly, another series that like I will not forgive BookTok for saying is good, and that is The Selection by Kiera. Very similar to Shatter Me. Why I could forgive people that read it in like 2012, 2013 when like that was peak literature. not now. Like, even in YA, we have so much better. It is a 1-star book. Like, I mean, is it cotton candy? Just, you can very easily read it? Yes, but like, stop recommending the selection. I can't. But again, that's why it feels so much like 2015 booktube, because Shatter Me selection, things like that were so popular because they were newer and like just come out. But I cannot forgive you guys still giving that series any kind of clout. All right, that is it for all of the book talk popular books that I've read. There's probably some more that I've forgotten or that I just don't know are popular book talk books. It's kind of hard to like really sort through those. So if there's any books that are sort of like mainstream, not romance books, because I haven't read, I mean, I've read a lot of romance books, but not a lot of like the book talk romance books. So if there's any other like sort of fantasy, sci-fi books that you feel like I should share my opinion on, feel free to let me know. Also, any thoughts on where this is gonna go next? What I'm shocked about is that Book Talk has not discovered, is it The Cruel Prince also by C.S. Pacat? That series, again, early booktube for me, like, you know, 2014, 2015, really had everyone in its clutches. Like, that was a very, and then it became very polarizing. I am stunned with the love of sort of like dark romance, male, just love on Book Talk, that has not been a series that has taken off. I'm like waiting. I'm waiting to see it be like, someone be like, look at this series I discovered, and the booktubers to just be like, oh my god, here we go again. It very much gives the energy of like, don't cite the dark magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written. So I'm waiting for that, because I do feel like that is another series that like Book Talk would love. So that's my main prediction, but let me know what you think is gonna take off from like old booktube on Book Talk next. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.